New Year's Eve update, Q4 final numbers, and some 2022 predictions. I'm Brian. Welcome to my Tesla weekend. So let me know if you can hear me in the chat. We're going to get to some good questions in a little bit. First, I did want to say a quick thank you and welcome to my newest Patreons, Corey Shipko, The Tree of Liberty, and George Isaacidis. I apologize if I have butchered it. For those watching right now, you are watching whichever version it says on the screen. There's the full version, Fridays at 7 p.m. And then over the weekend, I post an abridged version, condensed, for your viewing ease and pleasure. So, I know why you're here. You want to see the final numbers. I did post them to Twitter a few minutes ago, but why don't we first talk about what they are here. Like a lot of guys, I did make a revision. And there's a reason for that, which I will get to. I did look through the footage of Fremont, which made me revise my prediction for SNX up by 200 units. 12,800. That is now my guess. I can show you why. We're looking at... Hang on. If we're looking at this, we can see all these... a bunch of vehicles parked out here. Parked in the grass, even. And we can also see a bunch in overflow lots. In an entirely different location. I think production is higher than I expected at first. So that's why that number has been revised. And if we look at Fremont, I have not changed that number, I don't think, on any of my estimates. But I have revised slightly the Shanghai 3 and Y number. And only slightly. And if you look here, we can just skip to it. 290,086 units. Putting me far lower than all the other YouTube and Twitter guys. But I have my reasons. So Shanghai 3 and Y, I said 6% better than their best month ever. Oh, thank you, Mark. 6% better than their best month ever. The equation looks a little something like this. It's a lot of fun and super pretty. Whoa, don't do that. But it isn't higher. And the only reason I did revise it from up, I think I had it at 4% better. I changed it to 6. The only reason I went that high was because of this from Jay in Shanghai, showing the loading, the overflow lot, the delivery lot in Shanghai for local deliveries. And man, is it packed. So in addition to all the trucks we've seen going out, all the units we've seen going out, all of these, as of yesterday, were waiting for delivery. And while they may not show up in the delivery numbers, they're likely to show up in the production numbers. Now for funsies, again, I'm at 290 and change. Investors Business Daily. We've got a consensus for deliveries. I highlighted it, didn't I? Oh, I guess I lost it. Of FactSet consensus, 276,900. Now, I did see that Tesla apparently put out their own consensus at about 260. So there's a lot of Wall Streeters in the 260 to 270 range, and I think those numbers are low. And then, of course, you've got the YouTubers coming in at more like, what would they be, 290 to 300-ish? And I think that is impossibly high. So I am going to get to everyone's questions. You know what? Why don't we just do that first? Let me get here. Let's see what we got. 10,000 Cybertrucks in 2022, over or under? I don't have a good answer. It will depend on what we see in the next couple months. Should also change this. There we go. Yeah, I'll do that. It'll depend what we see in the next few months as production nears. Joe Tetmeyer just today said equipment for the production of the Cybertruck is already being loaded into the building. So that is very encouraging signs. Brian Witten says no production at either factory until parking, roadwork, and chargers are ready to handle shipping. And I would disagree with that. There are already about 200 level 2 chargers, the slow chargers, not superchargers, next to the west side of the building, near where production will come out at the end of the factory. 200, even if you figure it takes 6 hours on the charger, which it shouldn't because the cells are going to be mostly charged when they're put in the car, that would still handle 1,200 units a day. That's more chargers than they had in Shanghai when they entered production. So chargers aren't an issue. Roadwork, I just don't see that as an issue. And parking. There's plenty of parking. And I've covered this in videos in the past. You can slap down an entire parking lot over a weekend. That's not too hard. I did ask, and this question remains, well, what year is it where you are? And be advised that time travelers really creep me out. Although I did get a 1999 answer, and if where you are is 1999, please do remember to turn off your computer before midnight because of Y2K. It's a big deal. Ron King, Austin starts production next week. That is the word from Joe Tetmeyer. They've already made a handful of vehicles for validation, some of which are apparently parked inside the structure, inside the building, and some of which have been shipped out to other states for testing and validation. And that tracks with kind of everything we've seen, kind of everything we know. So that's not a crazy claim. That's a pretty believable claim. Aaron says, what about the Rona as Tesla's biggest problem of the coming year? I don't think it will be. I don't think it will. The Mayans were off by 10 years. 2022 is the end to this nightmare trilogy. Party on. Watching from Sydney. Time traveler. Time traveler. And Mark, again, thank you for the super chat. I thought they weren't doing end of quarter pushes anymore. They're not. Not in the sense they used to, Paul. They used to do all hands on deck, get everybody in, and they would end up with all kinds of expediting costs that aren't good for the bottom line, and they're trying to unwind the quarterly push. They will still be front-loading the quarter with international deliveries and focusing on local deliveries for the final month of the quarter, but that's not the same as the pushes they used to do, where they would even conscript volunteers from the Tesla owner community to do new buyer orientations. Those were wild times. Why doesn't Tesla disclose numbers for each model instead of grouping 3 and Y and S and X? I don't know. That's a good question. I do think they're more transparent than other manufacturers, and I believe that because I've tried to look up production for other manufacturers with limited success. So it's possible I don't have access to the right tools, but Andre, 4 a.m. in Germany in 2022. How dare you? How dare you rub it in my face that I am living in the past? Therese, welcome. So good to see everybody. The gang is all here. So let's get back to the other fun. Last year, I made some predictions. Let's take a look at them. I'm going to just hit play here. So the first prediction was on the 2020 production. I was very close. That's fine. The next one was the stock price. And I took a very broad approach and said it would be between 529 and 2823. Let me wait for... Yeah, I said it would be between 529 and 2823, and it is. Yeah, it finished up well. And I will get to my 2022 predictions shortly, as you will see. What else did I say? Let me pop this open to make sure I don't miss anything. I also said the stock would split this year, and I was incorrect about that. I did say out here that full self-driving would not be complete in 2021, and unfortunately, I was correct. On the deliveries, was that over here? Yeah. On the deliveries, I'd said they would be, for this year, between, I said they'd be 800,000, and I'm delighted to have been wrong, but I did provide a range of 720 to 1.1 million. Not a very bold prediction, but it was one I was comfortable with, and I like to stay in my wheelhouse. I did say, by the way, look at that, I had 5 patrons last year. It was a tough start to the channel, my friend. I did say that Elon would become the richest man alive, and that penciled out. Again, not a super difficult prediction to make. And then on production of new vehicles, I said that the made in Germany Model Y would be in limited production. And even though they've made a couple hundred, I would argue that I missed that prediction. I said the Semi would be in limited production, but not wide production. And even though we've seen a few out for testing in Nevada, I would argue that I missed that prediction. I did say that there would be no Roadster just yet. That came true. And I did say that there would be no Cybertruck yet, because Texas would not yet be complete. And the last of these predictions from last year, I said that the Model Q would be unveiled, which it has not. I did say it wouldn't be out, but that was, again, pretty easy prediction to make. All of those came true-ish. Those ones, anyway. So, yeah, those were my predictions. You ready to see my predictions for this year, for this coming year, for the next one? Let's go take a look. Oh yeah, take a look. Like I'm looking like I'm gonna click on a tab here. No, I'm just going back to the B-roll. So my predictions are, just do that. That the stock performance. Let's talk about the stock performance for 2022. I believe it will outpace the market. I believe it will beat the market. I believe that based on the production we're seeing, the new factories coming online, all of the good things that you guys already know about, that $1 in Tesla will outperform $1 in the S&P 500. In terms of production, I believe Tesla's guidance of growing by 50% each year, I believe they will easily hit that in 2022, because the run rate in Shanghai is such that they kind of already have the capacity. If not, they're within a stone's throw. They would not need much production from Austin and Berlin. And Shanghai is still expanding. And there's still rumors that they're taking over more land nearby for additional capacity. Now, that capacity wouldn't come on during 2022. But the expansion there that is already underway is definitely going to be done. And their run rate is fantastic. So let's talk about Cybertruck and Semi. Cybertruck will, I believe, see some production this year. I don't know about 10,000. I would take the under on 10,000, unfortunately. But Tesla's approach is different than it was when they first expanded into Shanghai. Their approach now seems to be get all your ducks in a row rather than just enough ducks to get out to sea, as it were. So I believe that when Berlin and Austin turn on, that their ramp will be faster than what we saw in Shanghai. Also in part because these factories are substantially larger than phase 1 of Shanghai was. So I think those numbers are going to be big and pretty. So we want to talk about the Shanghai. So Shanghai is going to expand. I believe we will see new capacity there. I believe we will see the numbers continue to increase. I believe they are still parts constrained, and that these Berlin and Texas will come online. They will ramp. All that's going to happen. Berlin is still a bit of a bureaucratic mess, but I believe they've got everything lined up Their I's have been dotted and their T's have been crossed. The Model Q, the $25,000 jobby, I believe we're going to see. I'm going to hang tight here. The Model Q, I believe we're going to see it come out. Not come out, but be unveiled at least. I do not believe the $25,000 price tag is still applicable, in part because inflation has outpaced it since it was mentioned. And even a 6% increase would be, over $1,000 more. I believe early versions would be in the 40,000 plus range for Founders Edition or Performance or Extra Range or who knows. But that it will be at least unveiled, and I still believe it'll come out as 3 different variants, 1 for each continent. And that there may be, a chance for them to import to other countries at a premium. And then lastly, insurance, energy, and FSD. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I know Elon said in an interview with Lex Friedman that FSD may be cracked this year. And I would very much like that to be true. He has a better insight than most, but I believe his optimism may still get the best of him. I would not put money on FSD being complete in 2022. If it is, hold on to your butts because the stock is going to the moon. If Tesla is the first to market with a true level 5 that can work anywhere, anytime, even a level 4, they're going to crush it because they'll already have 2 million vehicles on the road that can be switched on tomorrow. Insurance, we've heard a rumor today or yesterday from Sawyer Merritt, that they will be rolling out in more states in January. Tesla Insurance will continue to grow. I don't see them cracking the top 10, maybe even the top 20 insurance companies this year, but it will happen, and it will continue growing because they've got the best data in the world. And I've made a whole video about that, which you can find on the channel. Tesla Energy will continue to expand, and I believe that will be not just in new locations, not just with new retail customers, public utilities that is, but also their own production. They've already got 1 power plant in Texas that was codenamed Gambit Energy until it was complete. And I believe that Giga Texas will itself become a power utility because they need the power there, and they're going to have it. So why not just put it right on site and plug it in? Insurance, energy, FSD. That's what we got. Let's get to your questions, folks, because it's a year's eve. Let's take a look. I'm going to put this up big. Don't make me regret it. Not many comments. A little quiet tonight. I suppose people are out having fun. 2:10 p.m. in Sydney. Nice. Yes, JJ, you're absolutely right. That range was very wide. And that's because I don't like to make predictions outside of my wheelhouse. And estimating things like stock price, that's not my area of expertise. If you're looking to me to predict the future, if you're looking to anyone to predict the future of a stock price, don't. Because anyone who tells you they know the future is lying. 4:11 p.m. in New Zealand. My channel has had a good year. Congrats. Thank you. It has. Looking back, when I made my first one of the Giga Math tracker videos, I had like 350 subscribers. There's a new Patreon I was chatting with who wanted to hear some backstory on it. And the big thing I had to say was, I didn't know it was going to become a regular feature. I didn't know if anybody was going to watch it. Because 351 subscribers, or whatever it was. How great. MD Hofsty, good to see you. A narrower price prediction, please. Nope, I can't. I would be lying if I tried. So I apologize, but that is not what I can do. Charlie Fox says 1.3 million for production in 2022 is baked in today without new factories. Sort of. There can be downtime. There's holidays. Any disruption in the supply chain would draw out from that number. But I do believe 1.4 to 1.5 million next year is kind of in the bag. My production estimate uses a simple rule of 3, plus 400K with 2 expanding factories, plus 800 with 4 expanding factories, about 1.7 million. For 2022, I would take the under. I hope to be wrong. Once the 4680 plants are ramped, all bets are off, because depending on how they assemble Cybertruck will depend on how much they make. Absolutely. I've got big questions on how they're getting the steel from Steel Dynamics in Sinton, Texas, to the plant, because isn't it supposed to be a single sheet? Also, where are they going to get a single sheet that wide? Steel Dynamics does not make a 15-foot wide roll of anything. That's too wide. When do you think Austin and Berlin will start making Model 3s? As of today, there is no plan. So I don't know. I haven't heard rumors yet. Giga Texas will become a utility to supply the grid. Absolutely agree. Level 4 will be complete this year. Oh boy, I really hope you're right. Because if it is, wow, you're going to be rich. Elon said level 4 in the interview with Lex. Yes. Elon has a better idea what is just around the corner, because we found out about a year or two, that he has the bleeding edge build of it in his car, and he uses it every time he drives. So he knows things we don't. But boy, getting to level 4 is really tough. And I believe there's a liability factor that plays into it as well. Paul says, I think level 5 will probably take a couple more years. I think that's a pretty reasonable guess. JJ asks, Tesla Semi in 2022? Yes. I don't know in what numbers, but yes. They want to kind of skip the hand building phase and go straight into large production, which would require a tremendous amount of batteries. How many new buildings in Austin this year? 2. I would say 2 for sure. 2 large ones and maybe some small ones. But the 2 large ones, we've already seen the footprint and we know where they're intended to go. They could be delayed. They could be canceled. But I believe 2 is the answer. What will battery capacity be in Berlin and Austin next year? 100 gigawatt hours is what I've read. That the 4680 plants are supposed to be 100 gigawatt hours each, which would be like 2 to 3 times the output of Giga Nevada. And it's because the batteries are more, have more capacity per cell, and you can get more from less cells, from fewer cells. What is 7 times 8? I don't know, 42? Stock split? I forgot to mention. I absolutely believe there will be a stock split, because I believe the price for entry for anyone who is not using fractional shares is too high. It makes it difficult to dollar cost average, and especially for younger, less wealthy investors, picking up 1 or 2 shares a week is easy. My guess, 10 to 1 split. Ambitious, I know. I thought the 5 split last time was too conservative. And it's all just numbers on paper anyway. Do Texas Model Ys start with the 4680? And if yes, long range or performance? As we understand, yes. We've seen a empty body out there for what we assume is paint, because it was being loaded into the paint shop. And the floor pan was missing, suggesting it will have a structural battery pack. We know Cato Road's been stockpiling 4680s to allow for launch before the 4680 production cells in Austin are ready. So yes, and I believe they'll go straight into performance is my guess, but I do not know. And I think what would happen is that SR Plus and maybe long range would just come from Fremont, while performance would come from Texas, which would simplify production in both factories. Stock split, yes. Will tri-motor Cybertruck happen? And if not, would you get a 2 or 4 motor variant? I don't know about the tri-motor. And honestly, I think 4 motors is excessive and unnecessary. I don't know why. So what would I get? The cheapest one possible? I don't need 4-wheel drive. I don't need 2 motors. I don't go off-road. I've had 1 4-wheel drive car ever. Yeah. And I never needed the 4-wheel drive part of it. It was an old Nissan Pathfinder from the 80s. Bulletproof. Had like 280,000 miles on it. MD Hofsty said, in regards to the stock split, only if the shareholders agree. There is a prescribed maximum number of outstanding shares that the shareholders would have to vote on to increase. I believe the shareholders would vote for that increase, so I don't see that as an obstacle. After this, going to the Jessica Kirsch channel. I don't know who that is, but I'll check it out. Happy New Year to all. Thank you, Julius. Happy New Year to all indeed. What about Tesla mining? Don't know yet. Don't know yet. As I see it, that's still on the horizon. MD Hofsty says, I think level 3 will be this year. I think that is more attainable. Certainly in certain circumstances. I could absolutely see a highway level 3. And you know, Mercedes has their highway level 3. But only up to 37 miles an hour and only on the highway. So, kind of never. Is it true that Giga Texas production is starting next week? That's the rumor. We don't know. I don't see a reason why it can't. All the pieces are in place. Do you think Cybertruck body repairs would be more difficult than other vehicles? So, the short answer is, on a pickup truck, if you crunch the bed, you can replace the bed. The longer answer is, it's kind of hard to crunch the bed on a Cybertruck. The odds of suffering damage will be much greater, but when you suffer damage, it's going to be vastly more difficult to correct. There are old DeLoreans that have had body work done. You can always tell because they've been painted. It's not easy and it's not good. So damage will be a lot harder to incur, and the sort of thing likely to cause significant damage, the sort of thing that you wouldn't just hammer out and buff, which you could, probably, is likely to total the vehicle, which is also true of any car, any pickup, any vehicle of that size. I'll move this down so I can see my workspace a little better. Oof. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mega Wilderness is saying, Patreon, call your sponsors patrons. I think it's clearer this way. I think you just being here, Mega Wilderness, makes you a supporter, if not a patron. If you're not using AdBlock, you are a patron, and I appreciate your patronage. Your Tesla pricing and mindset does include level 5. I'm all about battery production and crushing utilities with storage. Charlie Fox says, I'll take the other side of the stock split bet. No split until 2023. Maybe, it's tough to say. Will Mary continue to lead? For her sake, I hope so, because after the leadership she's shown at GM, I don't know who else would hire her. Maybe BlackBerry's looking for a new CEO. They can't split more than a 2-3 without shareholder approval. Yep, they are approaching the maximum number of outstanding shares. Mary has beat Elon to Mars. I think that's true. Charlie says they can get approval for the stock split pretty easily, though, and I agree with that. Elon described the development of FSD as chaotic, with rewrites happening all the time. Level 5 is far more than a year away from completion. I would agree level 5 is more than a year away. It is a task of a level of complexity that's never been this close to completion before, and it's still very far from completion. You don't realize how good humans are at human-type things. 10-to-1 split to put it at the same range as Apple. 100-to-1 split. Let's go into the moon, Mars, and back. That'd be fun. Hey, who is this became a patron? Dang, sorry it took so long. Not a problem. Not a problem. I'm happy to have you. And a reminder, I've got my 11-year production estimate that's going to be up on, that is up on Patreon already. And it'll be getting more complicated as time goes on. JJ asks, Volkswagen catching up in 2022? Not in 2022. I don't think they'll catch up in 2022. That's a very high bar. They do have battery factories that are under construction, which are critical to their expansion. And they will be, once those are ramped, they can get real serious about production. And then they'll be one to absolutely watch. Don't forget, Elon has to agree to a split. I don't see why he wouldn't. Wait, 37 on the Autobahn? Yeah. It's traffic jam assist is what it is. Tesla insurance is moving very fast now. I like the Big Four motor beast. Cannot wait. I would use an ad blocker if it would stop mid-roll. Adblock Plus. Or, no, sorry, uBlock Origin is what I use. And it stops all the ads. Do not feel like you will hurt my feelings if you install an ad blocker. You won't. I feel your pain. Happy New Year. I don't have an issue with front side ads. Oh, right. No indication of a test track in Austin, possibly internal to the factory. That is what we've heard from Joe Tetmeyer, is that they did the little configuration drives inside the factory. All you need is speed bumps, and you can get the plastic ones that bolt into the concrete. That'd be very easy to do, and there is no shortage of space inside that beast. Does VW have contracts for lithium? They do not. They have contracts for batteries that are unfulfilled. Oh, how about the poll? Yeah, let's look at the poll. 49% say the biggest obstacle is batteries. Second place, bureaucracy, followed by production ramp, and last place, part shortage. We'll go ahead and end that. Yeah. JJE, Nikola building stations in 2022. If you mean hydrogen stations, I don't think they need to yet. I think that'll come in 2023 because they're still in alpha on the hydrogen version of the truck. And I think it would be more cost effective to have their test fleet from someone in the area, near Phoenix, who could, so I think at most they would need to build one, is my guess. But I don't think they will need to build hydrogen stations. If you mean charging stations, I think their current partner is Electrify America. And I think Electrify America has the expertise to help with destination chargers for example, the port of Long Beach, who already has taken delivery. They can just put them in. I think so. What's the holdup in Germany? Permits. Apparently, they've already built 250 cars, which is the limit to how many they can legally build until the permits are finally approved. And they're expected soon. All the paperwork's in order. It should just be a matter of getting it done. Thoughts on a Polestar IPO? Boy, I haven't looked into it, so I do not have thoughts on it yet. So it's been a half hour. We should, if there's any final questions, let's get them in. I do want to thank all of you guys for being here. Not just now, but always. Even those of you with whom I disagree. When you disagree with me in a constructive way, we can have constructive conversations. And I appreciate that. Remember when GM was just going to buy Tesla? I don't, but that's... If they had just held on to the stock that they were paid for selling the NUMMI plant, the Fremont plant, man, GM would be so rich today. Oh, they could have bought Tesla with that. I still think it's... Oh, CPUs. as there is no new facilities built, and GPUs and CPUs are still limited, plus the auto industry is still waiting on chips. So the chips that most of the auto industry is waiting on is because they don't have the agility to rewrite to handle different chips. The CPUs and GPUs are definitely a constraint worldwide because, like you said, there's only so many places that they come from. And yeah, if you wanted to buy, so you call them tomorrow and say, I need 10 million, they'd say, get in line because that's too many. Is there anyone out there legitimately covering Rivian? I expect a rough year for them, and I'm interested if someone is covering, but not just yelling about the stock. I don't know of any channels strictly focused on it. I have not heard anything bad about the truck, apart from range while towing, which I think is going to be true of anybody. I don't know, man. I don't know. If I find someone, I don't know. I'll look for you, Charlie, because I know who you are. I mean, I don't know who you are, but you always comment, and I appreciate that. So if I see anybody, I can certainly let you know. JJE, Brian and Bear in real life live show in 2022. By the way, I'm confident it's Brian and Bear. He says it is, but I don't know. I think he's saying it's the other way around. What do you? I don't know what you mean by an in real life live show. I don't think we're touring. I think they'll expand their sharing of superchargers this year into the U.S. and Canada. Yes, if the infrastructure bill is structured in a way, then yes, I just do believe they will, because there's money on the table, and as more other manufacturers get out there, yes. The logistics of it is another matter. What are they going to do? Retrofit all those charging stations with CCS? Maybe. But I don't know. Most of the OEMs use older chips that the foundries don't want to make. Yeah, they're low-margin commodity chips. And if you can make more money making a newer, more advanced chip, you're going to do it. Always enjoy my videos. Happy New Year. Thank you. 420 was too late to GM. I don't understand. So I did want to give a big thanks to my Patrons. And by the way, this list is woefully out of date because in the last few weeks I've had quite a few upgrades and new patrons. So that's super, super awesome. Thank you to everyone who's been on board. I will get this updated in the next few days. And, if you're catching this on the replay, yeah. If you're catching this on the replay, let me know. What did I miss or misunderstand? Stay tuned, stay juicy, all that good stuff. Do one more check of the chat. Yeah, Paul, thank you for everything to you too. Yeah, sounds great. Okay, guys. Yeah. I'll see you guys in the new year.